Hello there, welcome to NTV English News Bulletin. I am Bhavana Casey. In the beginning, we have the headlines. Ruling Coalition's task force holding its meet today as well to continue discussion on seat allocation for November 20 elections. UN Special Envoy arrives Myanmar. Trip follows the Security Council's latest call for humanitarian access and end to violence in the country. UN Chief Guterres to meet Zelensky and Erdogan in Liev on Thursday to visit ports in Odisha and Istanbul to oversee export of grains. And Serena Williams crashes out of Cincinnati Open after losing to Emma Raducanu. World number 1 Medvedev through to the third round. Welcome back. You are with NTV English News Bulletin. Now we have the news in details. The meeting of the seat allocation task force formed by the ruling five-party coalition is being held this afternoon. The meeting being held at the Prime Minister's official residence in Balwatar this afternoon will continue discussion on the allocation of electoral seats among the five ruling parties for the November 20 elections to the House of Representatives and Provincial Assembly. A meeting of the task force held earlier had entrusted the responsibility of presenting the draft of the electoral seat allocation to Nepali Congress's leader Krishna Prasad Sitola. The task force has prepared the draft based on the local elections held in June. Based on the local level elections held in May the 13th, the first past the post and proportional representation of the House of Representatives of 2074 BS and the current representation of the parties in the Parliament. The task force has been instructed to submit a report as soon as possible. The ruling Mao Centre is holding its standing committee meeting this afternoon. The meeting, to be held at the party head office in Paris Tada, is likely to discuss the allocation of the electoral seats, contemporary politics and the conditions put forth by the National Assembly member Bamdev Gautam and chairman of Nepal Samajwadi Party, Dr. Baburam Bhattarai. Both Gautam and Dr. Bhattarai are contesting the November 20 elections to the House of Representatives with the election symbol of the Mao Centre Party. Today's meeting is likely to discuss the issue. The meeting will also discuss the November 20 elections among other issues. The impeachment proceedings against Chief Justice Cholendra Samsher Rada is finally beginning after 6 months since the motion was registered in the House of the Representatives. The first meeting of the Impeachment Recommendation Committee is underway. The Impeachment Recommendation Committee is to begin the investigation process. Secretary of the Impeachment Recommendation Committee, Lakshmi Gautam, said the meeting to be held today would pick the chairman and determine the procedures of the meeting. With this update, time to go for a short break, but still to come we have. Welcome back. You are with NTV English News Bulletin. Now two more updates. And in next update, a nearly 400-year-old religious artifact allegedly stolen from Nepal and tracked down to Singapore recently was acquired in accordance with established procedures, both local and international, said the museum where the piece is now on display. On Sunday, an online initiative to recover lost artistic heritage from Nepal announced that a sculpture of a Hindu deity belonging to Nilbarahi Temple, dated 1636 and claimed as stolen in 1999, had been located in the collection of the Asian Civilizations Museum, ACM, Singapore. ACM had purchased the sculpture depicting a Hindu goddess in 2007 for $650,000 from now a defunct New York gallery accused of an extensive antiquities smuggling operation. The artifact, along with 6 others, represent shrines to mother goddesses in the town of Pharping, some 20 kilometers south of capital Kathmandu. The Nilbarahi sculpture in particular was stolen on the night of June 16, 1999 from the house of a caretaker who had been tasked to safekeep it for a year, said the person behind Lost Arts of Nepal. The UN Special Envoy for Myanmar arrived in the Southeast Asian nation on Tuesday for the first time since he was appointed to the post last October. Myanmar state media showed officials greeting Noeline Heyzer at Yangon Airport before shepherding her onto a connecting flight to the capital Naypyidaw. Her trip followed the UN Security Council's latest call for an immediate end to all forms of violence and unimpeded humanitarian access in the strife-torn country. Heyzer will focus on addressing the deteriorating situation and immediate concerns, as well as other priority areas of her mandate. Meanwhile, it is still unknown whether Heyzer will meet with Myanmar's military rulers or the country's imprisoned former leader Aung San Suu Kyi. United Nations spokesperson Stefan Dujarric announced on Tuesday that Secretary General Antonio Guterres will be in Lviv on Thursday to meet with President Recep Tayyip Erdogan of Turkey and the Ukrainian leader Zelensky. Dujarric also said that Guterres will visit Odessa and Istanbul to see one of the ports involved in the Black Sea Grain Initiative and the joint coordination center set up to implement it. The Black Sea Grain Initiative was set up to allow Ukraine to export food commercially from the key Black Sea ports Odessa and Yuzhny. More updates lined up on the other side, but before that, time to go for a short break. Welcome back now to more updates from the international front. South Korean President Yoon Suk Yeol said his government has no plans to pursue its own nuclear deterrent in the face of growing North Korean nuclear threats, as he urged the North Korea to return to a dialogue aimed at extending denuclearization steps for economic benefits. In a news conference in Seoul, Yoon also said South Korea doesn't desire political change in North Korea that's brought by force, and called for diplomacy aimed at building sustainable peace between the rivals in the face of tensions created by North Korea's accelerating weapons program. The Mediterranean is getting hotter. The Mediterranean Sea, cherished by tourists from cooler countries, is currently experiencing the latest in a series of severe heat waves that has wreaked havoc on marine ecosystems, causing the cases of mass mortality among some species. Experts say that while it might be nice to bathe in warm water, it's a whistle-blowing sign that the Mediterranean Sea is not well. Heat waves have become almost commonplace in many countries around the Mediterranean, with the dramatic side effects of wildfires, droughts, and high temperatures. More updates lined up on the other side, but before that, let's have what we have coming up next. Now to sports. Palestinian leader Mahmoud Abbas expressed no regret on Tuesday for the deadly attack by Palestinian militants against Israeli athletes at Munich Olympics half a century ago, countering that Israel had committed killings against Palestinians over the years. Speaking after a meeting with German Chancellor Olaf Scholz in Berlin, the Palestinian president said he was committed to building trust and achieving a peaceful solution to the conflict with Israel. Asked whether as Palestinian leader he planned to apologize to Israel and Germany for the attack ahead of the 50th anniversary next month, Abbas responded instead by citing allegations of the atrocities committed by Israel since 1947. Serena Williams fell to 0-2 in matches since announcing the countdown has begun on her career after losing 6-4, 6-0 to U.S. Open champion Emma Raducanu in Cincinnati Open. The 40-year-old Williams said last week in a Vogue magazine Asia and an Instagram post that her career was winding down, although she did not explicitly say the U.S. Open, which begins on August 29 in With this update, we come to the end of this English News Bulletin. But before we say goodbye, let's have a quick reminder of the major stories. Ruling coalition's task force holding its meet today to continue discussion on seat allocation for November 20 elections. UN Special Envoy arrives Myanmar. Tree follows the Security Council's latest call for humanitarian access and end to violence in the country. UN Chief Guterres to meet Zelensky and Erdogan in Lviv on Thursday to visit ports in Odessa and Istanbul to oversee export of grains. And Serena Williams crashes out of Cincinnati Open after losing to Emma Raducanu. World number 1 Medvedev through to the third round. Well, that's all we have in this edition of English News Bulletin. I'll see you again with next round of English Bulletin at 6 in the evening. Till then, have a great time ahead and do stay tuned with us. Namaste.